Good morning everyone. In our today's video, we shall be studying or trying to understand the second part or the rest part of our lesson 5 of history, the creation of an empire, the Mughal Empire. In our previous video, we already discussed about Babur, about Humayun and about Akbar. So, in this chapter, we shall be dealing with the other Mughal rulers like Jahangir, Shah Jahan and Aurangzeb. Let's start first of all with Jahangir. Jahangir, he was a son of Akbar and he ruled from 1605 up to 1627. As you can see the picture of Jahangir here, you can see in page number 38 of your history book, the portrait of Jahangir is here. He was the son of Akbar who became the ruler in the year of 1605. Well, Akbar died in the year 1605. In the year 1605, Akbar died, and before his death, he had named Nur Uddin Salim. Actually, Jahangir was not the real name. His real name was Nur Uddin Salim. He was nominated by Akbar as the next emperor. Salim, that is Nur Uddin Salim, he took the title of Jahangir. Nur Uddin Salim, he took the title of Jahangir and he ruled up to year of 1627. He wrote his own biography known as Tujuk-i-Jahangiri. Tujuk-i-Jahangiri, it was the biography written by Jahangir himself. What is the meaning of biography? The life story of a person written by himself is known as biography, and the life story of a person written by others is known as autobiography. So, Tujuk-i-Jahangiri is the biography composed or written by Jahangir. He married Nur Jahan in AD 1611. Nur Jahan, she was the wife of Jahangir. Jahangir, he got married with Nur Jahan in the year of 1611. During his time, various European travelers like William Hawkins and Sir Thomas Roe visited India. During Jahangir's time, we can say Jahangir, he used to make very cordial relationship with the other countries or the foreigners, especially the Europeans, and that's why different travelers, like here two examples I have given. One is William Hawkins, another one is Sir Thomas Roe. They visited our country during the time of Jahangir. So that's all about Jahangir. Well, after Jahangir, the next Mughal ruler, it was Shah Jahan. Shah Jahan, he ruled from 1627 and 1658. Before going to study about Shah Jahan, I hope everybody knows Shah Jahan, he was a great builder. He had got great interest in architectural structures. He made the Taj Mahal, which is very famous all over the world. And even you can see the picture of Jahangir. The picture of Jahangir, it is here in page number 39 of your history book. This is the picture of, sorry, not Jahangir, this is a picture of Shah Jahan. After Jahangir's death, Khurram succeeded to the Mughal throne as Shah Jahan in AD 1628. We can say that Shah Jahan also, it was not his real name was Khurram. Khurram was the real name of Shah Jahan, and he succeeded the Mughal throne after the death of Jahangir. Shah Jahan, when he had become the ruler, he had trouble with the Portuguese because they practiced piracy. Everybody knows about the meaning of piracy. Shah Jahan, he had trouble with the Portuguese ruler, they had got trouble with Shah Jahan because the Portuguese, they used to practice piracy. Shah Jahan's relations with the English were cordial. No doubt we have got here that Shah Jahan, he did not have good relationship with the Portuguese rulers, but the relationship of Shah Jahan with the English or with the British was cordial, or you can say it was good. His reign is, however, best remembered for his many buildings and fine architectural activities. As I just mentioned before some time, that Shah Jahan, he made many buildings which are still famous all over the world. Like one example I already gave you, the Taj Mahal, and because of that reason, Shah Jahan's time is best remembered about the Mughal dynasty. So that's about Shah Jahan. Now comes the last, we can say, the Mughal ruler, whose name was Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb's picture also is there in your book. You can see. This is the picture of Aurangzeb in page number 39 itself. The picture of Aurangzeb is there. He was the last Mughal ruler who ruled under the Mughal dynasty. Aurangzeb, He ruled from 1658 up to 1707. A bitter succession was fought among the sons of Shah Jahan. When Shah Jahan died, as you know that after the death of one ruler, the son of the ruler becomes the next ruler or the emperor. So when Shah Jahan died, among the sons of Shah Jahan, there was a bitter war, we can say a bitter war of succession was fought among the sons of Shah Jahan. And Aurangzeb, he was successful and ascended the throne in 1658. Aurangzeb, he was able to defeat his other brothers and he became the next Mughal ruler in the year of 1658. But Aurangzeb, we can say he was not tolerable like Akbar. We already got earlier in the previous video that Akbar as well as Shah Jahan, they were tolerable about the other religions. But Aurangzeb, he was not at all tolerable about the other religions, especially the Hindus. The oppressive religious policy of Aurangzeb led to some serious revolts in the country. The religious policy which was made by Aurangzeb, it was not at all adapted or it was not at all liked by the other people, and that's why some serious revolts were taken place all over the country. The Jats of Mathura broke out in rebellion in AD 1669. The Jats who were residing in Mathura, they started to revolt against the Mughal or against Aurangzeb in the year of 1669. Even the Sikhs also rose in revolt. After Aurangzeb, slowly the Mughal empire decayed. So, as I already told you, Aurangzeb, he was the last Mughal ruler. After him, the later Mughals, they were very much weak rulers. They were not able to manage the affair of the kingdom, and that's why slowly the Mughal empire decayed. About that we shall be discussing in some other chapters of history. Well, the last part of the video is we are going to discuss about the Mughal court. This is very important. Even question is there in the exercise, so you need to understand this. The Mughals fully knew the value of a dignified court, so they spent a lot of money on its construction and maintenance. The Mughal rulers, all the Mughal rulers, they knew very well that the court must be maintained properly or decorated properly. Means they gave much importance to maintain one dignified court or one magnificent court, and that's why they spent lot of money for the construction of the court as well as for the maintenance of the court. They would hold the court while sitting on high platforms so that anybody who came to see them had to automatically to bow before them. How they used to hold the courts? See, it is written here. They would hold court while sitting on high platforms. Means if this is the court, this court will be located or situated or made little bit higher from the ground, so that anybody who will come here to visit them, they have to automatically bow before them to give respect to the Mughal emperors. All the central ministers were allotted permanent seats. The central ministers, the ministers who were there at the center, they were given permanent seats. Means when they used to hold the courts, the central ministers, their permanent seats were there. Not only this, the distinguished guests means some foreign travelers or some other scholars, when they used to visit the courts, were not only the guests, when they used to visit the Mughal courts, they were not given seats after being received honorably, but also rewarded. What it means, the Mughal rulers, they used to give respect to their guests or the scholars. When the guests or the scholars, they used to visit the Mughal courts, they were received honorably, they were given judicious respect, and even they were rewarded. Amongst all this, the Mughal rulers did not forget to pay attention to their public. Actually, whatever we have discussed till now about the Mughal court, it was a permanent court, but you know very well that it is not possible for the common people to always visit the court to get their problems solved, and because of that, the Mughal rulers, they did not forget to pay attention to their public or to the citizens or the common people, and because of that reason, they would often hold open courts. Means they would go out of the main court and they used to organize the open courts, and there they used to listen to the complaints of their subjects or the complaints or the problems of their people, and they also try to pacify them, or they tried, pacify means to solve them just solve the problem of the people or the problem of the subject. So that's about the Mughal courts. So the chapter is completed. Now you need to go through the video. Already the first video was given. Go through both the videos, read the chapter, underline the important points, especially the short points or the short questions, and if any doubt is there, please get it cleared. Thank you very much.